So, Shamoon, tell me your Bitcoin story.
My Bitcoin story. I We have to rewind about 15 years. So 2010, 2011, scouring forums, doing nothing useful, learned about this kind of weird, really small thing called Bitcoin, started reading the Bitcoin forums, and me being the never-ending cynic, I wanted to poke holes. It's not going to work. Of course, how could this work? They didn't think of something. You can't make digital information unique and not transferable. Well, apparently you can. But then there's a supply problem. People will just take it and print infinite to make themselves wealthy. Well, there's a limit. No matter what technical hole I poked, it seemed that Bitcoin had already solved, which got me more interested. What holes can I poke there? Set up the nodes, set up miners, set up everything to try to figure it out. And again, money wasn't really part of the equation because we're back in 2010, 11 when Bitcoin's not even $1. It's a few cents. Fast forward a little bit, maybe a year or two, the landscape was very murky. There was MTGOX, BTCE, Silk Road, weird use cases that no one really understood, 10,000 Bitcoin pizzas, which are now worth
Billions of dollars.
$500 million, I think, if my math is correct. It's a strange place to be. That got me more and more involved. Not for money, because it was unreasonable to think that it would be worth anything ever. Just a cool little toy. Not even currency, which is being used now, but at the time it was used more foolishly because it definitely was not a currency. Fast forward a little bit, in 2013, I was all in, orange pilled, as they say. Started an exchange called Crypto Street, which is one of the earliest altcoin exchanges. This is pre-Ethereum, pre-Dexes, pre-DeFi, just Bitcoin for Litecoin, for Feathercoin, for Peercoin. So that was my intro into Bitcoin.
And how has that evolved since in the last 10 years? So you told me the first 5. What's happened in the last 10 years?
So innovation, if you want to call it that, has exploded in the crypto space. Again, if we want to call it that, I'm using these terms very, very loosely. And just being a tinker, I've played with every version of it, smart contracts, ICOs, NFTs, just to understand how it all works. Nothing since then has captured my interest and attention as much as Bitcoin has, because all of the rest of it has some very, very obvious and glaring hole.
So why Bitcoin and then not these? So tell me these holes.
So we have Ethereum. It's better than Bitcoin because it allows smart contracts. Yet we're now, 10 years into the story? I have yet to see a single use case of a smart contract that can't be better done with just a centralized database. ICOs are just a fundraising loophole. NFTs are just a way for the wealthy to get wealthier somehow with art, if you want to call it that.
Pictures?
Pictures, not even art. Pictures of monkeys and dogs and whatever weird cartoons.
JPEGs.
So whatever the innovation of the moment happens to be, it seems to be self-serving. Bitcoin seems to be away from that. Yes, Satoshi would be one of the wealthiest people on the planet if he or she or they will exist. But it's more, call it pure, in that no person or persons can game it to their advantage, where that is not true of literally every other innovation past that.
So where do you see Bitcoin going for the Muslims?
I am one of the least intelligent people that I know. I try not to play the prediction game. I try not to assume things that I can't accurately predict. I don't know what the ultimate use case will be. I don't know if it'll replace the fiat system. I don't know if it'll be a store of value system. I don't know if it'll be a replacement for Swift. But I do know that it is very much a protocol as well as an asset. The protocol is extremely valuable because something like it has never existed and has never been created after that as well. Again, we've got Litecoin and all these other ones, but they have this sort of self-serving interest, which makes them more companies than protocols. So for Muslims, I think the alignment is Bitcoin is something that you can participate in, either with full understanding, with limited understanding, or with no understanding. And it would be foolish for us not to jump on before the inflection point really hits. And I still think we are early. We haven't really seen that critical mass yet.
You're saying even with no use case, you're still thinking Muslims should be in Bitcoin?
I think it's an asymmetric bet. The use case may eventually be discovered. What was the use case of the internet? At the time, it was imagined that it would replace newspapers, and sure it has, but it also lets you tap a few things on your phone and get food delivered to your hotel in 40 minutes. That was never a use case that was imagined for the internet. It just so ends up being a use case. I think Bitcoin will be similar. The use cases that we're all trying and predicting and trying to monetize somehow, they're all good, whether they're exchanges, or this whole DeFi scam.
So it is the creation of digital scarcity that separates Bitcoin from everything else, because everything else can be copied or
Yeah.
gamed, but Bitcoin is unique and it is the commodity in the space.
And it's at the protocol level. You don't have to buy shares in a company. You don't have to know anything about Satoshi. You don't have to understand op signatures. You just have to understand that this is, you don't understand IMAP protocols and HTTP protocols. We don't do that, but we use it and we benefit from it. Every time you go to your phone, some website, using a ton of protocols to get that information. That's enabled incredible value creation. The whole tech industry is based on these protocols, which no one is able to monetize because they're free protocols. Bitcoin's the first time when the protocol is the monetization.
So it allows you to send money, send value from one to another anywhere in the world.
Without asking anyone, without assuming you have your OPSEC under control, without even letting anybody know that you've done it. For any reason. What are those reasons? None of us know what those reasons are, will be. Just like
So what do you say to the people who say, "Oh, I have nothing to hide. Why should I think about this digital money about hiding my identity when I have nothing to hide?"
don't hide your identity then. If you have nothing to hide, you don't have to be anonymous. You're welcome to post your addresses if you're of that mindset that you have nothing to hide, nothing to run from. Make sure your operational security protocols, your personal discipline doesn't really index on that. Now, the other perspective is you may have nothing to hide, but maybe you don't want certain things to be known, right? The two are not the same. One is you've done something wrong and you have to hide something. The other is I am donating money to some cause or I'm buying something. And I just don't want to signal that and broadcast that for any number of reasons. It could be totally legal and valid things. I just don't want people to know that I'm sending money here, this organization, this charity. I can do that.
So what else do you want people to know?
There are no experts, myself included. There are no gurus. There are no people that know any more than you do or that I do. There are simply people that are more passionate and more curious. It doesn't take, the barrier to entry is incredibly low to get into Bitcoin.
You can start with $1.
Literally start with $1. Go to any of the exchanges, set up an account, buy $1, buy 10, buy 100, whatever is your limit. Do not wait for someone else to tell you what the right move is. Your financial security for the first time ever is literally in your own hands. It is your responsibility, and with that comes the upside.
Awesome.